All right, how's it going? This is a live stream. We're going to be talking about home education. And my name is Josh Turansky, and I am joined actually by an expert in this field who also happens to be my dad, Scott Turansky, Dr. Scott Turansky. And all of a sudden, within 1 week, we have a bunch of people who are teaching their kids at home. And I live here in Baltimore City, Southeast Baltimore. I'm directly involved with City Spring Elementary and Middle School with 500 or 600 kids there. Wolf Spring, I'm wearing my Wolf Spring Academy shirt today. And all of these kids are, all of you, your kids are now at home with you. And one of the greatest needs that's arising is parents just feel overwhelmed. You may feel completely overwhelmed. Now, all of a sudden, the school's given you a packet, which is the best attempt they could make last minute, and said, here, this is the homework sheets that your kids need to do. And wouldn't you know it, if you go on to Google Trends, the search for homeschooling is just spiking up and to the right. Domestic violence is a reality. If you go and talk to a cop on the street, that is what is spiking right now, is because family life is really, really hard when we're all stuck in the same house. So, Dad, maybe I should call you Scott. This has been your sweet spot. Share with people what specifically is your background.
Well, first of all, we are getting calls regularly now at our parenting ministry here, and people are asking us the very same question. They're wanting to know what do we do? How are we going to work with our children at home? And then organizations are calling us looking for help. So I'm really grateful to talk to you. I've written 15 books on parenting. We head up the National Center for Biblical Parenting. We've trained over 200 coaches to work one-on-one with folks. And those coaches now are receiving requests so that we can now try to get them involved and work with them in ways that with individual families and help develop strategies and plans that will help them to work. So that's who we are, and that's what we're doing. And we're eager to help you, and I know that you're having some challenges in your own home, and we want to give you some ideas that will make this work.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm all about calling in the experts, and while we cannot have you here physically helping us in Baltimore City, we can be in people's homes in this format. And we're, as a church, as Haven City Church, which is the church I pastor, here, we're looking at other ways that we can do coaching and tutoring, and we want to get behind parents in that front. I know at the same time, we are live streaming this onto the National Center for Biblical. That's pretty significant, and you've got an audience that's there. What do you want to say specifically to them?
Well, I'm just grateful that we're able to participate. I know a lot of people working with the National Center for Biblical Parenting, given specific challenges in their lives for some time. We help children grow, develop. We believe parents are the primary counselors, therapists for their children if they have a good plan, and our job is to equip with those plans. So this step of doing home education is another part of the challenge there. I know there's some unique challenges that surface in the midst of that process, and I want to give you some solutions that are going to help you to get started and get started strong. One of the things that we're seeing now is that families are close together, and what an opportunity to study your kids, to enjoy them, to have relationships with them that are close. But many people are working from home now, trying to get things done. And one of those things is the schooling aspect of life. So tensions can rise. And if we can help you deal with those tensions, then we can have closer relationships, and you can really enjoy your family. And that's what we want to help you to do.
Let's jump into this. If people are people have been educating their kids at home for a while. There's a group of people that I was homeschooled for 10 out of 12 grades. And maybe just as a biographical note, I'll just share why that happened, and you can kind of fill in the details. But I was homeschooled starting in the kind of the middle of second grade because I had severe learning disabilities. And I could not read at the level I was supposed to read at, math at the level I was supposed to do math at. I really struggled in the classroom. And so you guys pulled me out of school and you did this thing called homeschooling or home education. What was that like for you as a first-time parent?
Well, we really wanted to help you. And yes, you were struggling quite a bit in the school. You were in some good classrooms, great teachers. We were involved in the classrooms. We were working with you at home, but you were in the lowest reading group and it was starting to bother you and it was a problem. And so it was affecting your perception of yourself. So we pulled you out of school and mom did most of the work to participated, but we were able to go at your own pace. So we pulled back on some of the reading things, did a lot of reading to you instead of expecting you to read. And as really intrigued with education, one of the benefits of home education is that children can explore their own ideas they want to. And so we pursued some of your interests. You became a self-learner, self-initiator, and we're really proud of all the things that you do. And just that early years of those formative years were great times for our family. So we really appreciate that.
Yeah, I want to just say to parents, maybe one of the first fears that you have is with your kids not going to school is this could this be significantly detrimental to your kids? And I just encourage you that not just my own story, but even statistics show that kids can thrive through home education. It can be a good solution for kids in a number of different ways. And so if you're a parent that's just kind of freaking out, like this is going to wreck your kids for a valid fear, you will be fine. Your kids will be fine. So yeah, let's just talk through some of these points that we to me. Walk us through some of these initial steps, starting at the beginning, cooperative work relationship with your child.
Well, here's the challenge. I think that some children resist. In fact, the resistance that they're demonstrating toward parents who are trying to move forward in their home education, even if there's an online teacher or there's something else going on or the teacher sent home some books to work on, that teacher, that parent is the one moving them forward. And so the resistance that some parents experience with their children is an indication of a problem in the heart of a child that we need to look at. So I would suggest that the first class in any homeschool is cooperation. The working relationship between a parent and child needs to grow to a place where the child's responding well to the parent. If the child's first answer is no, that's a problem. If a child has the wait a minute disease, whenever you tell them to do something, that's a problem. So we really need to step back before we can do a whole bunch with math and reading and English. We need to step back and work on this relationship that we have, just trying to get things done, because a child's first experience is they need to learn how to cooperate. They need to learn how to give up their agenda. So if when you tell your child to do something, he grunts about it or gives you an attitude, or if the child is resistant and says no, or the child disappears and you wonder where they went, or the child goes away and doesn't come back. I mean, all of those things are indications of a heart problem in the child. So we really have to do some work on the heart of a child before we can move forward to actually get something done. So we're in a particular part of a child's heart. This is the getting things done department in a person's heart. That's where we need to spend some time.
Okay, so let's say I got a kid, a parent in my church or somebody in the community here, they've got a kid and they just feel like I cannot get my kid to do this sheet that was given to me by the school. This kid is resisting me. And so you're saying this is something that flows out of the heart, and we've got to just kind of start right there. One of the things that I see quite a bit is just an elevated voice and greater intensity. It's like, okay, if we can yell at these kids, then they stop resisting and then they respond. So where do we go from, okay, the reality is that the kid's resisting us. How do we motivate them internally from a heart level so that they are willing to participate and do what they're supposed to do?
All right, it's a good question. And I want to move from two different kinds of parenting. Let's just talk about that for a moment, because I think this is where parents are going to resonate and say, yes, this is what I need. There's the reward punishment model that parents sometimes use, which says, finish your worksheet and then you can have some video time, or complete that assignment and you can go out and play, or whatever they want to say. Okay, they're doing this reward punishment, or if you don't do this, I'm going to take this away from you. Now, reward punishment fits under that class of behavior modification, and it has severe limits with a child's heart. See, if a child has a tendency to resist and you give them a reward, it'll work in the short term, because what you're saying to a child is, I'll give you what you want if you do what I say. We do that enough, and what we're doing is we're building selfishness in the heart of a child, and so it eventually grows, and so children are asking the wrong questions about life. They're starting to say, are you going to pay me for that? They're saying, what's the minimum I need to get done here in order to get my reward? Or on the punishment side, they're evaluating whether they're going to accept the punishment and whether it's big enough to motivate them to get something done. Anger on the part of a parent demonstrates power and authority. And that's why parents resort to it, because it works in the short run. But giving children rewards or yelling at them, although they might work in the short run, have detrimental effects on the relationship and even decrease internal motivation on the long side. So what we have to do is we have to build some things in the heart. We have to develop this working relationship, and that's where we're going to have to start. So you might, for the first few days, put aside the worksheets and practice following instructions. And I don't mean, it's very important we don't do this in a militaristic kind of way. This isn't like boot camp. You need to make your bed and brush your teeth and get dressed and all these things. No, what it means is that we're going to practice a sense of cooperation. We're going to show kids what that looks like, and we're going to do some practice, because it's practice that emphasizes the training. Parents often use correction to get something done. We're going to move over here to the training side. We're going to train children to work together with us in order to get something done. That's what I want to talk to you more about.
Excellent. So children are giving up their agenda. You wrote here kind of earlier, desires, expectations, demandingness if they don't get it, resorting to anger. And then you're mentioning here the two cycles of parenting. Do you want to get into that now?
Sure. Let me say this. Inside the heart of a person, we have several things, and we have to understand this as we're going forward. One is we have desires inside of the heart. Children desire things, and when those desires, if they're too strong, turn into expectations, and children have these expectations of what's going to happen, and they get angry if those expectations aren't met. And the expectations then can turn into demands. So some children become rather demanding about life. That all goes back to one whole aspect inside of the heart. Now, if you take emotions, which are also into the heart, and you attach them to desires or expectations or demands, that's when we have this explosiveness. We have the bad attitudes. We have all kinds of challenges that children experience. And so that's why we have to be strategic in our parenting. Think strategy. We're trying to move a child not just to get done his math problems or worksheets for reading. Now we're really trying to build something inside of the heart, which we're going to start with cooperation. There's a number of things we need to work on in order for home education to work, and one of those things is this idea of cooperation. So let me give you an idea, a very practical idea, in order to help you know where you are in the parenting process. There are two cycles in parenting that we have to understand. And if you mix them up, tension increases and things don't go well. The first cycle is getting things done. This is all the things you're doing in the course of the day. These are the things like getting up in the morning and getting dressed and maybe making the bed or getting to breakfast or getting the trash out or getting the school books in or whatever it is, we're doing things. So all the getting things done things that you do in your home are part of a person's heart. So when you're parenting to get things done, you do things in a certain way. Okay, here's where we go. This is what we're going to do. We're going to move forward. But if a child starts to be resistant and moving the wrong direction, then what happens is the child's over here. They're off track. And the child who's off track, when the parent's trying to go forward, that's when we get tension going. We have to stop trying to get things done. And that's when we start moving over to the correction side to say to a child, okay, you're done. I want you to go sit in the hall, sit on the stairway for a minute. You think about it, because all life stops for you. You're not playing video games. We're not getting on the iPad. Nothing else happens until you're ready to settle down, change your heart, and work with me. So we're not continuing to argue with the child and keep things going when the child's off track, because the child over here is off track and needs to change the heart in order to move forward. That's going to take some work. Children need to know we're not going forward here, and you have nothing else you're going to do until we start to move forward. Now, we have to recognize that you're parenting two different ways there. Here's the problem. If you're trying to get things done and you're ramping up and the child's yelling at you, then what's going on? If you keep trying to get things done, you're validating the way the child's treating you. You're actually encouraging disrespect, not listening. You're encouraging their yelling at you because we got to get this done. You need to do this. And so we can't do that. We can't do both cycles at the same time. We have to know where there are two cycles exist. And so that's a key element in our whole parenting strategy, is to recognize that we're in different places in order to get things done or to help children that are off track. I'd like to take you in different videos here. I'd like to take you down each path and show you exactly what you do when a child's off track, or exactly how you can train children to move forward in a good way. But right now, I just want you to understand there's those two different cycles. If you get this and draw a line clearly between them, you'll be able to reduce some of the tension, because your child just isn't ready to learn if that child is ignoring you or yelling at you or something like that. We've got to stop, deal with that before we can move forward.
Yeah, that's huge. I know that, especially if you got younger kids, especially, that this is the pain point as a parent. This is the thing that's driving you nuts. And in this whole coronavirus world that we're living in, we're stuck together. So we're like, this is why people are upset, angry, and kind of losing their minds. So yeah, we will do this again. We'll come back and we'll chase down some of the ideas that you're talking about. You said here that these are the life skills your child will use for the rest of your lives. Talk a little bit about, because you're encouraging parents to work with their kids in a strategic way. You're encouraging
Yes.
parents to do correction and to lead their kids in a specific way, but you believe that this sets them up for success later on in life. Unpack that a little bit.
Okay, this is really important, because now it's not just about the math papers or reading the reading assignment. Now it's about a process that's building character inside of a child's heart that they're going to use for the rest of their lives. What we're saying to it essentially to a child is, this work we're going to do right now in math isn't about math. Yes, we're going to get the math assignment done, but the way we're working together is most important, because that's going to help you to be successful in other areas. Frankly, I say let's talk about a 12-year-old who's giving you resistance about the schoolwork. I would say to the child, son, I want to work closely with you here. I want to help you develop some life skills. I know that I'm not normally your teacher, and I want to coach you through this. We have to get the task done. All those we words are helpful, because we're not just pointing you, but we're working together here. I'm going to help you, but it means we need to be able to work together. And in fact, our ability to work together is going to produce some life skills in you that you're going to use forever. When you get into a job someday, you're going to need this ability to cooperate. When you get married someday, you're going to need to know how to give up your agenda and work with your spouse. If you get on a team of people, you're going to know how to work with them. So the way that we work together is just as important as getting the tasks done. And as you're helping your child develop those character qualities, you are investing in their future. This is powerful. I say to teenagers, 15-year-old, I say, there are three things that you want to learn right now when you experience a difference with your dad or your mom. A difference can be defined as mom wants to do it one way, child wants to do it a different way, or mom's saying you can't have play on this video game, or dad's saying you need to go out and take out the trash, or there's some kind of a difference that's creating friction, and you're feeling that difference. You have three life skills you want to develop instead of just blowing up or reacting and so on. As a young person, you want to develop three skills. They are gracious communication, emotional management, and creative problem solving. Now, you'll use those for the rest of your life. That's one of the missions of adolescence. We don't have to just say, oh, well, rebellion from teenagers is accepted. I mean, that's a normal thing. We're just going to go on and yell at each other, and then we're going to go off to our own spaces for a little while. That's not what we want. We want young people to learn the skills they need that they're going to use forever. And so when they're working on creative problem solving, or they're working on gracious communication or emotional management, those are life skills. If young people can develop them now, just imagine how strong they'll be as they get older. So it's not just about the task. It's about the process. Think in those terms, okay? We're not just trying to get the child to complete the task. We're developing a process, and the process is going to draw attention to character inside a person's heart. That's what I want to talk more with you about and how that works. But just get that vision that this is a bigger thing than we're talking about normally, and it'll help you tremendously as you work with your children.
Awesome. Well, we're going to wrap it up there. Let's stop there. And like you said, we'll come back. One of the places where this video is posted is on the Haven City Church website. It's going to be in different locations where it's shared. But we are trying to equip families in our neighborhood here in Southeast Baltimore. And I know my dad, Dr. Scott Turansky, he is trying to equip families across the country to be a family that has God's grace on it, that functions well. Now, before we close, though, there's one thing that I've got to say that I forgot to mention is that I know for me in my neighborhood, many of the families that are watching this and that we're talking to are blended families. They don't maybe necessarily have the normal mom and dad role. Maybe it's grandma taking care of a couple of generations. Maybe it's living with aunt. And so just talk specifically about that really quickly before we jump off.
All right, before you jump off, I want to do that. And I want to tell a Bible story if I can too.
Yeah.
So let me just say that the family has so many different faces today. You've got adopted children, you've got foster care children. Last night I was speaking with a grandma and her grandson that they're working with, single parents. We all have one thing in common, is we're working with children. And the focus here is on a child's heart. And the influence you have, whether it's every other Thursday and weekends, or it's having a child living in your home while you're trying to do work from home, all of those things, we're still trying to help a child change their heart. So keep that in mind. That's important. Can I tell my Bible story here, Josh?
Yeah, please go for it.
I want to illustrate this idea of the two cycles by telling you the story of Jonah. Because in the first cycle, remember, getting things done, we're going this one direction. Jonah chapter 1 starts this way. The word of the Lord came to Jonah and said, "Get up and go to Nineveh." You see, God was trying to get something done. So he's working in the getting things done department by giving an instruction. But Jonah, like a 3-year-old in a grocery store, runs the other way. So God says, all right, I'm going to have to change my plan here. We can't get something done. This boy's going to need some correction. I know. I'm going to have him sit somewhere. Where should I have him sit? Oh, a fish. So he brings a fish over. They throw him overboard. Jonah chapter 2 is all about Jonah being in this fish for 3 days. I tell kids, if I was in a fish for 3 minutes, I'd change my heart. But Jonah took 3 days to change his heart. And when he was done, that's the end of Jonah chapter 2, when he gets thrown up onto dry ground. But here's the beautiful thing. In Jonah chapter 3, it starts this way. And the word of the Lord came to Jonah a second time and said, "Get up and go to Nineveh." Isn't that neat that God, first of all, he went back to getting things done instead of being off track here with Jonah to get him to change his heart. Now when his heart has changed and he's doing the right thing, God says, okay, let's go forward and do what's right. So I think you can say to your son or daughter sometimes, son, do you need a do-over? Because God gives us do-overs. That's his grace. Do you need a do-over in the way you're treating me here? Or do you need a detour? Because the detour is you need to go sit down, change your heart, come back and see me when you're ready. The do-over is much more efficient. Let's just change your heart. Come on, let's get working together. Split the do-overs and the detours. It's part of that split between the two cycles, and you'll get much further in your work with your children.
I love it. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much for giving us a little bit of your time. And again, our heart is just to serve our community, families that are in a place that they had no plan to be in a couple of weeks ago. But here we are. We want to walk with you through this. And there is some great things that can happen in your home. There's a lot of exciting things. Can you imagine? Maybe God allowed this to happen for some awesome things to take place in your family, that this isn't a tragedy, but this is an awesome opportunity for you to grow in your relationship with your kids. And we're hoping in that, we're believing in that. And I think that some coaching like this, some training like this will help you head in that direction. So thanks for tuning in, and we will continue to push this out. So stay posted for more of these types of updates. All right. God bless.